The Hidden World of Crystals, a relaxing sleep story for deep sleep. Hello and welcome back. Tonight, we'll slowly drift into the hidden world of crystals. Silent structures born deep beneath the earth, growing patiently in darkness for thousands, sometimes millions of years. Some are clear as frozen water. Others glow softly like moonlight trapped inside stone. And perhaps that is part of what makes crystals feel so calming to humans. They remind us that nature does not hurry. Everything beautiful takes time. Far below the surface of the Earth, where heat and pressure quietly shape the planet itself, crystals begin their journey invisibly. Not all at once, but atom by atom. Deep inside underground chambers filled with mineral-rich water or slowly cooling molten rock, tiny particles begin arranging themselves into repeating patterns. One atom settles into place, then another joins it, and another. Each one following invisible laws written quietly into the structure of the universe itself. This process is called crystallization. And despite how extraordinary crystals appear, their beginnings are remarkably gentle. No sudden explosion, no dramatic transformation. Only patience. A crystal may spend thousands of years growing in complete darkness before any human eye ever sees it. A small quartz crystal held in someone's hand today may have already existed before the first cities were built, before written language, before entire civilizations rose and disappeared, and somehow there is something deeply comforting about that. The modern world moves quickly. Notifications, deadlines, constant stimulation, but crystals belong to a completely different rhythm, a slower rhythm, the rhythm of geological time. And perhaps the nervous system relaxes around things that do not rush. Scientists discovered that crystals form because atoms naturally prefer order. Inside ordinary rocks, atoms are often arranged randomly. But inside crystals, the atoms lock themselves into repeating geometric structures called lattices. Perfect invisible patterns extending in every direction. This hidden internal order is what creates the crystal's outer shape. Salt crystals become cubes. Quartz grows into six-sided prisms. Snowflakes form delicate symmetrical branches. The beauty we see on the outside is simply the visible reflection of invisible organization deep within. And perhaps humans are not so different. Sometimes calmness on the outside begins with creating order quietly within the mind. Slow breathing, gentle routines, moments of stillness repeated over time. Nature often builds beauty through repetition. Crystal caves hidden deep underground reveal just how patient the Earth can be. In certain caves beneath Mexico, enormous crystals taller than human beings remained growing silently for hundreds of thousands of years. The conditions had to remain almost perfectly stable: warm, mineral-rich water, consistent temperature, almost no disturbance, and slowly, over immense stretches of time, giant translucent beams formed in darkness, some reaching lengths longer than trees. When scientists first entered these caves, many described the experience as dreamlike, like stepping inside another world. And perhaps part of what feels so peaceful about crystals is their stillness. They do not struggle to become beautiful. They simply grow according to their nature, little by little, layer by layer, year after year. Water plays a quiet but essential role in this process. Many crystals are formed because water carries dissolved minerals through cracks deep underground. As temperatures shift or water slowly evaporates, the minerals can no longer remain dissolved. So they begin settling gently into solid form, one tiny layer at a time. This is how geodes form. Simple stones on the outside, yet filled with hidden crystal worlds within. And perhaps there is something emotional about that too. How often do human beings resemble geodes? Ordinary from a distance, yet carrying entire hidden landscapes inside themselves. Thoughts, memories, exhaustion, hope, invisible worlds quietly forming beneath the surface. Even snowflakes are crystals. High above the Earth, tiny particles floating through freezing clouds become gathering points for water vapor. As moisture freezes around them, delicate six-sided structures emerge. No two snowflakes form exactly alike, and yet all follow the same fundamental geometry. Order and uniqueness existing together, nature repeats patterns endlessly, while still allowing individuality within them. Perhaps that is one reason natural forms feel so calming to the human brain. The nervous system relaxes around rhythm and symmetry. Soft repetition signals stability. Predictable forms create emotional safety. Researchers studying environmental psychology discovered that humans often feel calmer in spaces containing natural patterns. flowing water, tree, branches, waves, rainfall, crystals. The brain recognizes order hidden beneath complexity, and slowly, tension softens. Some crystals form quickly, others require millions of years. Diamonds, for example, form deep within the Earth's mantle under unimaginable heat and pressure. Carbon atoms slowly rearrange themselves into one of the strongest natural structures on Earth. Then volcanic eruptions carry them upward toward the surface, tiny pieces of the deep Earth rising into human hands. And perhaps difficult seasons in life shape people similarly. Pressure changes us, time changes us, reshapes hidden parts of the nervous system. But sometimes, strength quietly forms in darkness long before anyone else can see it. Crystals are often described as frozen time, because when scientists study them, they can read the conditions that existed while the crystal was growing. Tiny imperfections, trapped bubbles, mineral inclusions. Each one becomes part of a geological memory preserved inside stone. Almost like Earth keeping a diary written in mineral form. And perhaps human beings carry emotional crystallization too. Memories settling quietly inside the nervous system over years. Certain songs, certain smells. Rain against windows late at night. Moments preserved invisibly within us long after they pass. Tonight, as the world grows quieter around you, perhaps your thoughts are beginning to soften too. The nervous system slowly unclenching, the mind drifting further from the noise of the day, and somewhere beneath mountains, inside caves untouched by sunlight, crystals are still growing patiently in darkness, atom by atom, year by year. Silent reminders that beautiful things do not need to hurry. Crystal seeds begin forming close together. A cluster slowly emerges. Dozens, sometimes hundreds of crystals growing side by side inside the same hidden space. Each one shaped by the same environment, yet each one still slightly different. Crystal clusters feel almost alive when light touches them. Every angle catches brightness differently, tiny reflections shifting softly as the stone moves. Some people describe crystal caves as looking like frozen stars beneath the earth. And perhaps there is something calming about that image. Many individual forms existing together quietly in harmony. Other crystals grow alone. A single crystal forming slowly inside an open cavity where nothing interrupts its growth. These solitary crystals often develop extraordinary symmetry, sharp edges, smooth faces, perfect geometric balance. Almost as though nature itself were practicing patience and precision at the same time. And perhaps human beings are sometimes like crystals too. Some people flourish surrounded by others, growing through connection, conversation, shared warmth. Others grow quietly in solitude, needing silence and space to fully become themselves. Both forms are beautiful. Both belong to nature. The way crystals interact with light also changes how they feel emotionally to us. Some crystals are completely transparent. Light passes through them almost effortlessly, as though moving through frozen water. Quartz and topaz can become so clear that they seem almost invisible in certain light. Others are translucent. Rose quartz, for example, glows softly rather than clearly. Light enters, but becomes diffused, gentler somehow, like sunlight passing through fog. And perhaps this softness is part of why certain crystals feel emotionally calming. The nervous system often relaxes around softened light, dim rooms, rain through windows, candlelight in darkness. Harsh brightness demands attention. Soft light invites rest. Other crystals are fully opaque. They hold light at their surface rather than letting it pass through. Hematite reflects like polished metal. Obsidian absorbs light into deep darkness. Every crystal carries a different relationship with illumination. And this relationship depends upon tiny details hidden within its structure. Even microscopic imperfections can completely change the way light behaves. Tiny cracks, trapped bubbles, mineral inclusions smaller than dust. A perfectly transparent crystal may become cloudy simply because of countless tiny interruptions hidden inside. And strangely, there is something deeply human about that too. Experiences change us. Stress leaves marks, memories leave traces, invisible things shape how we carry light. The colours inside crystals are often created by impurities. Pure quartz is completely colourless. But when tiny amounts of iron become trapped inside during growth, the crystal transforms into amethyst glowing softly purple. Different impurities create entirely different colours. Chromium turns corundum into ruby red. Iron and titanium together create sapphire blue. Tiny changes at the atomic level producing astonishing beauty. And perhaps this is another quiet lesson nature offers us. Perfection is not always what creates beauty. Sometimes beauty emerges because of variation, because of pressure, because of change, because something unexpected became part of the structure itself. Some crystals even change colour depending on the angle from which they are viewed. A phenomenon called pleochroism. Turn the crystal slightly and blue becomes green. Yellow shifts into amber, grey becomes violet. The crystal appears almost alive beneath the light. Not because the crystal itself changes, but because its internal structure interacts differently with light depending on direction. And perhaps perspective changes human experience similarly. Sometimes the same life looks completely different depending on the angle from which we view it. Certain crystals reveal hidden beauty only beneath ultraviolet light. Under ordinary conditions, they appear quiet and unremarkable. But beneath ultraviolet illumination, they suddenly glow with impossible colours. Electric blues, soft greens, deep oranges, brilliant pinks. Scientists call this fluorescence. Energy enters the crystal, and the crystal releases visible light in response. A hidden world appearing suddenly from within stone. And perhaps people contain hidden light this way too, qualities unseen during ordinary moments. Gentleness, strength, creativity, warmth, parts of ourselves revealed only under certain conditions. Some crystals continue glowing even after the ultraviolet light disappears. This phenomenon is called phosphorescence. The crystal stores energy briefly, then releases it slowly over time, like a quiet memory lingering after the moment has passed. And perhaps the nervous system works similarly. Experiences continue echoing softly inside us long after events are over. Comfort lingers. So does pain. So does kindness. Certain crystals even contain traces of radioactive elements. Tiny particles releasing energy continuously over millions of years. A slow, invisible process unfolding deep inside the stone. These crystals remind scientists that even seemingly still objects are constantly changing at invisible levels. Nothing in nature is ever truly motionless. Even silence contains movement. Even stillness contains transformation. Crystal faces themselves grow at different speeds depending on environmental conditions. Some surfaces expand rapidly and disappear. Others grow slowly and remain visible. This is why crystals develop such varied shapes. Every angle becomes part of the crystal's growth history, a physical memory of the environment in which it formed. And perhaps human beings carry emotional geometry too. The shape of our lives often reflects the environments we grew within. Stress changes us. Safety changes us. Love changes us. Conditions shape structure. Some crystals trap tiny worlds inside themselves. Drops of ancient water, fragments of gas, needles of other minerals suspended forever within transparent stone. Scientists study these inclusions to understand what conditions existed millions of years ago during crystal formation. A crystal becomes both object and archive, a memory preserved inside matter itself. And perhaps human beings carry inclusions too. Old emotions, childhood memories, moments that remain suspended quietly inside us long after time has passed. Not all inclusions are flaws. Some create extraordinary beauty. Star sapphires glow with floating stars because of microscopic mineral needles hidden inside them. Cat's eye gemstones shimmer with moving bands of light. Labradorite flashes blue and gold like northern lights trapped inside stone. Imperfections becoming wonder, unexpected beauty emerging from complexity. And perhaps that is comforting too. The nervous system spends so much time fearing imperfection. Yet nature repeatedly creates beauty through variation, through irregularity, through accidental patterns no human could fully design. Tonight, as your breathing slows, as your thoughts drift more softly through darkness, perhaps the world itself feels a little gentler now. And somewhere beneath mountains, inside silent chambers untouched by sunlight, crystals are still growing patiently, holding light, holding memory, holding time itself inside stone. Nang crystals are not only beautiful, they are also deeply connected to the modern world in ways most people never realize. Inside phones, computers, watches, satellites, even the quiet electronics surrounding your room tonight, crystals are working silently. Certain crystals possess remarkable electrical properties because of the way their atoms are arranged. Graphite, for example, allows electricity to move easily through its layered structure. Silicon crystals, the foundation of modern technology, can behave as semiconductors. Neither perfect conductors nor complete insulators. Instead, they carefully control the flow of electricity. And this single property changed human civilization forever. Every computer chip, every smartphone, every digital screen depends upon crystalline silicon guiding electrical signals through microscopic pathways. Tiny crystals silently carrying information across the world. And perhaps there is something strangely poetic about that. The modern age itself built upon structures formed from sand and stone. Some crystals also possess a property called piezoelectricity. When pressure is applied to them, they generate tiny electrical charges. Quartz is especially famous for this. Inside quartz watches, electrical signals cause small quartz crystals to vibrate at incredibly precise frequencies. These vibrations become time itself for the device. A crystal quietly measuring the passing of moments, and perhaps that feels fitting somehow, because crystals themselves are records of time. Ancient structures shaped slowly over unimaginable ages. Quartz is one of the most common minerals on Earth. Most people walk across it every day without realizing. Beach sand is largely made of quartz. Tiny fragments of ancient crystals worn smooth by oceans and wind over immense stretches of time. Billions of crystal grains shifting softly beneath human footsteps. And despite its simplicity, quartz appears in many forms. Clear quartz shines like frozen water. Amethyst glows purple. Rose quartz blushes softly pink. Smoky quartz carries deep grey shadows inside itself. Yet all of them share the same essential structure. The same mineral expressing itself differently depending on environment and impurities. And perhaps human beings are not so different. The environment surrounding us shape how we are too. Stress changes us. Gentleness changes us. Time changes us. Yet beneath all of it, something essential often remains the same. Amethyst receives its purple colour from tiny traces of iron combined with natural radiation deep underground. Over thousands or millions of years, radiation slowly alters the crystal's internal structure. The result becomes violet light glowing softly from within stone. A kind of transformation born from invisible forces acting patiently over time. And perhaps this feels strangely emotional because life often changes people this way too. Invisible experiences shaping us gradually, not suddenly, but slowly enough that we barely notice while it happens. Some amethyst crystals form inside geodes, ordinary-looking rocks on the outside, yet filled with brilliant purple caverns within. When split open, they reveal hidden crystal worlds untouched by sunlight for millions of years. And perhaps this is why geodes feel symbolic to so many people. A reminder that hidden beauty often exists beneath ordinary surfaces. Rose quartz carries a completely different energy, soft pink, gentle, almost cloud-like in certain light. Unlike sharp, sparkling gemstones, rose quartz feels quiet. Its colour comes from microscopic mineral fibres suspended invisibly throughout the stone. These tiny structures scatter light softly, creating its calming glow. Perhaps this is why rose quartz feels emotionally soothing to many people. The nervous system often relaxes around softened colours and gentle textures, warm light, muted tones, smooth surfaces. The brain softens when the world feels less sharp. And rose quartz never demands attention. It simply glows quietly, like kindness that asks for nothing in return. Smoky quartz forms through radiation as well. Over immense spans of time, natural radiation from surrounding rocks gradually darkens the crystal. Pale grey becomes deep brown, sometimes nearly black. Yet even the darkest smoky quartz still remains transparent when held to light. Its darkness never fully erases its clarity. And perhaps there is something comforting in that thought too. Difficult experiences may darken parts of us for a while, but they do not always destroy what exists underneath. The crystal remains quartz regardless of colour, its essence unchanged. Citrine, with its warm golden glow, is actually quite rare in nature. Most citrines sold throughout the world began as amethyst before being gently heated. The heat changes the internal iron structures, transforming purple into yellow or orange. One form becoming another through warmth, and perhaps healing works similarly. Under different conditions, different parts of ourselves emerge. The nervous system changes in response to environment. Softness changes people. Safety changes people. Rest changes people. Even crystals reveal different beauty depending on what they experience. And then there are diamonds, perhaps the most famous crystals on Earth. Deep beneath the planet's surface, under crushing pressure and unimaginable heat, simple carbon atoms slowly organize themselves into extraordinary strength. the same element found in graphite, yet arranged completely differently. Structure changes everything. Carbon arranged one way becomes soft enough to leave marks on paper. Arranged another way, it becomes one of the hardest natural substances known. And perhaps this too feels meaningful. Because sometimes the difference between fragility and resilience lies not in what we are made of, but in how life shaped us over time. Tonight, as your thoughts grow slower, as your breathing softens gently in darkness, perhaps the world itself feels quieter now. And somewhere beneath mountains, inside hidden chambers untouched by human eyes, crystals are still growing patiently through heat, pressure, water and time. Silent architectures of the earth, holding light, holding memory, holding the slow rhythm of the planet itself. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, far below mountains, forests and oceans, carbon atoms are slowly being transformed by unimaginable pressure. Temperatures hotter than most places humans could survive. Pressure so immense it reshapes matter itself. And in those hidden depths, something extraordinary begins to form. Diamond, the hardest natural material known on Earth. Every carbon atom locks tightly to four others, creating a structure so strong that light itself seems to dance differently inside it. But perhaps what makes diamonds truly fascinating is not their brilliance. It is their journey. Most diamonds formed more than 1 billion years ago, long before human civilization. Long before forests covered the continents as they do today. They remained buried deep inside Earth's mantle until violent volcanic eruptions carried them upward through narrow channels called kimberlite pipes. A violent ascent from darkness toward the surface, and somehow, despite unimaginable pressure and chaos, the crystals survived intact. Perhaps this is one reason humans have always been emotionally drawn to diamonds. They are symbols of endurance, of surviving pressure without losing structure. And not all diamonds are colourless. Some carry traces of their history inside them, tiny impurities, subtle distortions, invisible changes created during formation. A trace of boron creates blue diamonds. Nitrogen creates yellow tones ranging from pale gold to deep canary yellow. Pink and red diamonds form when enormous pressure bends the crystal structure itself. Even radiation from surrounding rocks can slowly tint diamonds green over millions of years. The colours become records of experience. And perhaps human beings carry emotional coloration this way too. Life leaves traces inside us. Stress reshapes us, love reshapes us, time reshapes us. No two people emerge from life exactly unchanged, and sometimes the marks left by pressure become part of what makes something rare. Graphite and diamond are actually made from the same element, pure carbon. Yet graphite is soft enough to leave marks on paper, while diamond becomes one of the hardest substances on Earth. The difference lies entirely in structure, the same atoms arranged differently. And perhaps that feels strangely comforting, because it reminds us that circumstances and environments shape outcomes profoundly. How something is arranged matters. How something is supported matters. Even in human life, structure changes experience. Rest changes experience. Safety changes experience. Connection changes experience. Rubies and sapphires tell a similar story. Both belong to the same mineral family called corundum. Pure corundum is colourless, but tiny traces of chromium transform it into ruby red. Iron and titanium create sapphire blue, and sapphires appear in almost every colour imaginable: pink, yellow, green, orange. The same essential structure expressing itself through subtle variations. And perhaps nature repeats this lesson again and again. Difference does not erase connection. Beneath appearance, many things remain fundamentally related. Emeralds glow with a completely different energy. Their deep green colour comes from traces of chromium and vanadium hidden inside the crystal. Unlike diamonds, emeralds almost always contain inclusions, tiny fractures, mineral traces, fluid pockets trapped during growth. Jewelers even have a poetic name for them: jardin, the French word for garden. Because the interior of an emerald often resembles a tiny living landscape suspended inside stone. And perhaps there is something beautiful about that. Imperfection becoming character, history becoming texture. A flawless emerald is rare, but many people find included emeralds even more emotionally captivating, because they feel alive somehow, real. Aquamarine belongs to the same mineral family as emerald, yet carries the colour of ocean water, soft blue, gentle green, clear as shallow tropical seas. Unlike the intensity of ruby or the brilliance of diamond, aquamarine feels quiet, calm, like open skies reflected in still water. And perhaps this explains why certain colours affect the nervous system so strongly. Soft blues often lower mental overstimulation. Muted greens create emotional softness. The brain responds continuously to colour without us even realising. Some stones feel energetic. Others feel peaceful. Aquamarine belongs to peace. Topaz appears in many colours as well. Golden honey, pale blue, warm amber, deep London blue. Large topaz crystals can grow to astonishing sizes beneath the earth. Some museum specimens weigh hundreds of pounds, and yet even massive crystals remain vulnerable along certain internal planes. A property called cleavage allows them to split unexpectedly if struck at the wrong angle. And perhaps this too feels strangely human. Strength and vulnerability often coexist inside the same structure. Something may appear incredibly stable, yet still contain delicate hidden lines beneath the surface. Garnets are not a single mineral, but an entire family of related crystals. Deep red garnets resemble glowing pomegranate seeds beneath candlelight. Others appear green, orange, pink, even colour changing under different illumination. These crystals often form during metamorphism, when heat and pressure transform older rocks into entirely new forms. And perhaps people transform this way too, difficult seasons rearranging hidden parts of the self, not destroying identity, but reshaping it slowly over time. Pearls are different from most gemstones because they are created by living organisms. Inside oysters and mussels, tiny irritants become coated layer by layer in smooth mineral material called nacre. Months become years, years become luminous pearls. Beauty emerging from irritation transformed patiently over time. And perhaps this idea has comforted humans for centuries, that even discomfort can eventually become something gentle. Opals feel almost unreal beneath light. Tiny silica spheres hidden inside the stone scatter light into flashes of rainbow colour: red, blue, green, gold. Like miniature galaxies moving inside stone, no two opals are ever identical. Every pattern becomes completely unique, and because opals contain water within their structure, they remain slightly alive in a sense, sensitive to dryness, sensitive to temperature, sensitive to time, delicate beauty held together by balance. Jade has been treasured for thousands of years not because of brilliance, but because of toughness. Unlike brittle gemstones, jade resists breaking because of its fibrous internal structure. It bends slightly before fracturing, and perhaps resilience in life works similarly. True strength is not always hardness. Sometimes strength is flexibility. The ability to endure pressure without shattering. Turquoise carries the colours of desert skies and ancient rivers. Soft blue-green veins running through stone shaped by copper-rich water deep underground. For thousands of years, humans associated turquoise with protection and calm. Its colours feel earthly and peaceful at the same time, sky and stone meeting together. And finally, lapis lazuli, a deep blue stone flecked with golden pyrite like stars scattered across a midnight sky. Ancient civilizations treasured lapis for thousands of years. Artists once ground it into precious pigment more valuable than gold itself. The deep blue robes in Renaissance paintings, the eyeshadow worn by Egyptian royalty, all carried powdered fragments of ancient stone. And perhaps this is why crystals continue fascinating humans today. Not only because they are beautiful, but because they connect us to deep time, to geology, to history, to pressure and transformation, to the slow hidden processes constantly shaping the world beneath our feet. Tonight, as your thoughts drift more slowly now, perhaps the Earth itself feels softer somehow, a planet quietly growing crystals in darkness, patiently shaping beauty beneath mountains and oceans while the world above sleeps. And somewhere far below the surface tonight, new crystals are still forming silently in the dark, atom by atom, year by year, waiting patiently for light. Some crystals seem almost impossibly precise. Fluorite is one of them, a gentle tap along the right angle. And the crystal splits into perfect geometric shapes called octahedrons. 8 smooth triangular faces appearing almost as though they were carved intentionally. No human hand designed them. The shape already existed invisibly inside the crystal from the very beginning. Hidden order waiting to reveal itself. And perhaps there is something deeply calming about this idea. That structure can exist quietly beneath the surface, even when we cannot immediately see it. Fluorite also glows beautifully beneath ultraviolet light, soft blues, greens, violets. In fact, the very word fluorescence comes from fluorite itself, a mineral so luminous it gave science a new language for hidden light. And perhaps human beings glow this way too. Certain qualities only appear under certain conditions: kindness during difficulty, strength during exhaustion, gentleness during darkness. Some forms of beauty reveal themselves only when the environment changes. Calcite is one of the most widespread minerals on Earth. Entire mountains contain it. Ancient seas helped create it. The shells of microscopic marine organisms settled onto ocean floors over millions of years, compressing slowly into limestone. Then heat and pressure transformed some limestone into marble, stone becoming smoother, denser, more luminous. Transformation through pressure once again. Calcite also grows inside caves. Drop by drop, mineral-rich water deposits tiny layers over centuries. Stalactites descend slowly from cave ceilings. Stalagmites rise patiently upward from the ground. Nature building sculptures without hurry. Some calcite crystals possess an astonishing property called double refraction. Look through them, and the world appears doubled, 2 images instead of 1. Light bending differently inside the crystal's structure. And perhaps perception in life works similarly. Sometimes what we see depends entirely on the lens through which we are looking. Gypsum forms when ancient seas slowly evaporate beneath the sun. As water disappears, soft pale crystals remain behind. This humble mineral helped shape human civilization more than most people realize. Gypsum became plaster, walls, sculptures, homes. A soft mineral quietly building the spaces where human lives unfold. Some forms of gypsum grow into translucent blades called selenite. Others form delicate desert roses, clusters shaped like blooming flowers emerging from dry sand. Nature repeatedly blurring the line between geology and art. And perhaps the nervous system relaxes around natural symmetry because it reminds us that order still exists quietly within the world. Halite, better known as rock salt, forms in perfect cubes. Tiny geometric structures created simply through evaporation. Every grain of table salt carries hidden crystalline order, and salt shaped human history profoundly. It preserved food before refrigeration existed, created trade routes, built economies. Even the word salary traces back to salt, something so ordinary yet so essential. And perhaps this is another quiet lesson hidden inside minerals. Common things often hold extraordinary importance. Mica feels almost unreal compared to most minerals. Instead of breaking sharply like stone, it peels into thin, flexible sheets, transparent, softly reflective, almost delicate. For centuries, humans used mica as natural window panes because it could resist heat while remaining translucent. Its layered structure creates a pearly shimmer when light moves across it. And perhaps this softness explains why mica feels strangely calming to look at. The nervous system often relaxes around layered textures, soft reflections, gentle visual rhythm. Pyrite glitters like gold beneath light, perfect metallic cubes emerging naturally from rock. For centuries, it fooled hopeful prospectors searching for treasure. Yet pyrite possesses its own beauty entirely separate from gold: sharp geometry, brassy reflections, intricate crystal forms, and perhaps there is wisdom in that too. Not everything valuable must resemble something else. Pyrite does not need to become gold to be beautiful. Hematite carries the deep red colour of iron, oxidised by time. Ancient humans used powdered hematite as pigment in cave paintings tens of thousands of years ago. Some of humanity's earliest art came from ground minerals gathered from the earth. The colour of blood, the colour of rust, the colour of ancient memory. And despite being one of the most industrially important minerals on Earth, hematite still holds a quiet earthy beauty. Magnetite possesses an invisible force humans have wondered about for centuries: natural magnetism. Certain pieces become lodestones capable of attracting iron objects without touching them. Ancient navigators used magnetite to find direction long before modern compasses existed. Tiny crystals helping humans cross oceans. And perhaps there is something comforting about invisible guidance. Not all forces can be seen directly. Some things quietly pull us toward direction without words. Malachite glows with vivid green bands shaped by copper and water. Its patterns resemble flowing rivers, tree rings, waves frozen into stone. No two pieces are ever identical. Ancient civilizations carved malachite into jewelry, amulets, and pigments. Its green feels alive somehow, the colour of growth, the colour of transformation. Azurite forms beside malachite in copper deposits, but carries a completely different emotional atmosphere. Deep midnight blue. A blue so rich it almost feels liquid. Ancient artists ground azurite into pigments for paintings and manuscripts, yet over time, Some azurite slowly transforms into green malachite, blue becoming green through chemistry and time. And perhaps change in life often happens this quietly too. Not all transformation arrives dramatically. Sometimes it happens slowly enough that we notice only after years have passed. Sulfur forms bright yellow crystals near volcanoes and steaming vents. It smells sharp and unfamiliar, almost alien, and yet sulfur is essential to life itself. Part of proteins, part of living cells, part of the chemistry that allows life to exist. A reminder that even substances associated with fire and danger can still be deeply necessary. Corundum, the mineral family containing ruby and sapphire, is one of the hardest substances on Earth. Its structure resists weathering for immense stretches of time. That durability allowed rubies and sapphires to survive through centuries of human history, passed from one generation to another almost unchanged. And perhaps that is why humans treasure durable things emotionally, because permanence feels comforting in a changing world. Beryl crystals can grow to astonishing sizes beneath the Earth. Massive hexagonal columns forming slowly inside pegmatites, where minerals have enough time and space to expand. Some beryl crystals become emeralds, others become aquamarine. Others remain pale and nearly transparent. One mineral, many expressions. Again and again, nature repeats this same quiet truth. Environment shapes, appearance, but structure remains connected beneath it all. Tourmaline may be the most colourful mineral on Earth. Pink, green, blue, black. Sometimes all inside a single crystal. Watermelon tourmaline even grows with pink centres and green edges, like slices of fruit hidden inside stone. Its colours shift because conditions changed while the crystal was forming. Different chemistry at different moments, becoming visible layers frozen into the crystal forever. And perhaps human beings contain emotional layering this way too. Different seasons of life leaving traces within us. Different versions of ourselves preserved quietly beneath the surface. Peridot forms deep inside Earth's mantle and sometimes arrives at the surface through volcanic activity. A gem literally born from the deep Earth. Its warm green glow comes directly from iron within the crystal itself, not impurities, not external influence. Its colour belongs naturally to its structure, and perhaps this feels meaningful too. Some forms of beauty are not added from outside. They emerge naturally from what something already is. Tonight, as the room around you grows quieter, as your breathing becomes slower and softer, perhaps the Earth itself feels alive in a gentler way now. A world endlessly shaping crystals beneath mountains, deserts, volcanoes, oceans and caves. Slowly arranging atoms into colour and geometry across millions of years. And somewhere tonight, deep underground, new crystals are still forming patiently in darkness, growing silently through pressure, heat, water and time. Tiny architectures of the Earth, waiting quietly for light. Nox Binal spent centuries hidden in plain sight. For a very long time, humans believed famous red gemstones were rubies. Kings wore them in crowns, empires treasured them, wars were fought over them. But later, science revealed a quiet truth. Some of those rubies were actually spinels, a different crystal entirely. The Black Prince's ruby in the British Crown Jewels, one of the most famous red gems in history, is not a ruby at all, it is spinel. And perhaps there is something strangely beautiful about that. A crystal misunderstood for centuries, yet still valued, admired, and passed through history unchanged. Spinel glows with remarkable brilliance. Red, pink, blue, purple, even black. And unlike many gems, spinel has no cleavage, making it durable and resilient. It survives pressure well. Perhaps identity works similarly. Something does not lose its value simply because people misunderstood it for a long time. Zircon carries an even deeper connection to time. Some zircon crystals are over 4 billion years old. Older than mountains, older than oceans in their current form, nearly as old as Earth itself. These tiny crystals survived volcanic eruptions, erosion, tectonic collisions, and unimaginable geological change. Scientists study zircon because it remembers the ancient Earth. Inside its structure are tiny traces of radioactive elements that act like clocks. A crystal quietly recording the passing of billions of years. And perhaps there is something profoundly calming about deep time. Human worries feel smaller against such immense scales. The Earth has always been changing, always reshaping itself slowly. Agate forms through patience. Layer after layer of silica-rich water deposits tiny bands inside volcanic cavities. Over time, those bands become intricate patterns of colour and symmetry. No two agates are identical. Some resemble landscapes, others resemble clouds or rivers frozen into stone. And perhaps this is why agate feels emotionally soothing. Its beauty emerges gradually. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just accumulation over time. Small moments building something intricate. Jasper carries a different kind of beauty, opaque, earthy, grounded. Its patterns often resemble deserts, mountains, forests, or distant horizons, almost like tiny landscapes hidden inside stone. Ancient humans carved tools and ornaments from jasper thousands of years ago, and perhaps they were drawn to the same thing we still feel today, a quiet connection to the earth itself. Obsidian is not technically a crystal at all. It forms when lava cools so quickly that atoms never have time to organize into crystalline patterns. Instead, the molten rock freezes instantly into volcanic glass, smooth, dark, sharp enough to cut more precisely than steel, a frozen moment of geological violence. And yet obsidian possesses extraordinary beauty. Black surfaces reflecting light like still water at night, rainbow sheens hidden beneath darkness. Even chaos can become beautiful when time stills it. Throughout history, humans have surrounded crystals with meaning. Ancient Egyptians buried gemstones with their dead. The Maya carved jade into ceremonial masks. Greek philosophers believed amethyst could prevent intoxication. Across cultures and continents, crystals became symbols of protection, healing, power, and connection to the divine. Perhaps because crystals endure. Civilizations rise and disappear, yet the crystals remain. And maybe humans long for that kind of permanence. In medieval Europe, gemstones were believed to carry healing properties. Emeralds protected eyesight, sapphires defended against poison, diamonds granted courage. Modern science no longer supports most of these beliefs literally, yet emotionally, the attraction remains understandable. Humans naturally seek meaning inside beautiful things. We look for comfort in permanence, hope in rarity, calmness in symmetry and light. Crystals became vessels for those feelings, and perhaps they still are. Long before modern money existed, crystals and minerals served as trade goods across ancient civilizations. Turquoise travelled through desert trade routes. Lapis lazuli crossed continents from Afghanistan to Egypt. Jade became wealth itself in ancient China. Even salt, a simple crystal, became so valuable that Roman soldiers were sometimes paid with it. The word salary still carries that memory today. Tiny crystals quietly shaping human civilization. The famous Hope Diamond became surrounded by stories of curses and tragedy. Whether the legends are true matters less than what they reveal about human imagination. Beautiful objects gather stories around themselves. History clings to them. Kings, revolutions, theft, love, power. A crystal becomes more than a mineral once human emotion attaches itself to it. Museums like the Smithsonian now preserve some of the world's most extraordinary crystals and gemstones. Enormous emeralds, star sapphires, towering aquamarines glowing like frozen seawater. Walking through such collections feels almost dreamlike. A reminder of the incredible diversity hidden beneath Earth's surface, chemistry becoming colour, pressure becoming structure, time becoming beauty. Different cultures valued different stones. For some civilizations, gold mattered most. For others, jade or turquoise carried deeper spiritual significance. What humans treasure often reveals what they fear, what they hope for, what they believe gives life meaning. Quartz crystals eventually transformed modern timekeeping itself. Inside nearly every clock and watch, tiny quartz crystals vibrate at incredibly precise frequencies. A mineral formed over millions of years now helping humanity measure seconds. There is something poetic about that. Ancient geology quietly regulating modern time. And silicon from quartz became the foundation of computers, phones, satellites, and the digital world itself. The modern age, built partially from sand, transformed through human understanding. Even diamonds, symbols of luxury and romance, serve practical purposes industrially. Most diamonds are used in cutting tools, drilling equipment, and manufacturing because of their extraordinary hardness. Beauty and utility existing inside the same structure. Humans eventually learned to grow synthetic crystals in laboratories too. Synthetic diamonds, synthetic sapphires, synthetic quartz, chemically identical to natural versions, yet created intentionally by human hands. And perhaps this blurs the line between nature and invention in fascinating ways. Human beings learned the rules nature follows, then repeated them ourselves. Crystals also reveal one of nature's deepest principles, symmetry. Their external shapes reflect invisible atomic order inside: cubes, hexagons, octahedrons. Perfect repeating geometry emerging naturally from chemistry itself. Even when crystals appear irregular, hidden symmetry often remains underneath. And perhaps this is one reason the nervous system finds crystals calming. The brain relaxes around pattern and order. Symmetry signals stability, predictability, balance. Twin crystals reveal another layer of natural beauty. Sometimes two crystals grow together in mirrored orientations, interlocked, conjoined, perfectly aligned. Not flaws, but variations, nature improvising within its own rules. And perhaps human life resembles this too. We grow through connection. Sometimes separate identities intertwine while still remaining distinct. Crystal faces themselves grow according to atomic structure. Some surfaces expand slowly and remain visible, others grow quickly and disappear. The final shape becomes a physical memory of the crystal's entire growth process, nothing accidental. Every angle recording invisible decisions made by chemistry and time. Cleavage, the way crystals split, also follows hidden structure. Mica peels into sheets. Halite breaks into cubes. Fluorite forms octahedrons. Even breaking follows order. And perhaps there is comfort in that idea too, that beneath apparent chaos, patterns still exist. Tonight, as the room around you grows quieter, perhaps your mind feels softer now too. The earth beneath you still endlessly creating crystals through heat, water, pressure and time. Silent geometries forming in darkness. Tiny structures carrying billions of years of memory inside stone. And somewhere tonight, inside caves, mountains, deserts and volcanic chambers, new crystals are still growing patiently. Atom by atom, layer by layer, quiet reminders that beauty does not need to rush. Every crystal carries hidden directions of strength and hidden directions of weakness. Topaz, for example, is quite hard. Resists scratching well. Yet despite that hardness, it can split suddenly along internal planes called cleavage. A sharp impact at the wrong angle can fracture the crystal cleanly. And perhaps this reveals something quietly true about life itself. Strength is rarely uniform. People can appear resilient outwardly, yet still carry invisible lines where pressure affects them deeply. Understanding crystals means understanding vulnerability too. Even the most beautiful structures contain delicate places within them. Yet those same planes of weakness also reveal beauty. When crystals split cleanly, fresh internal surfaces appear, smooth, bright, untouched by weathering. Sometimes brokenness reveals what was hidden inside all along. When crystals break outside their natural cleavage directions, the result is called fracture. Quartz and obsidian often fracture in curved surfaces called conchoidal fractures, smooth arcs like ripples frozen in glass. These patterns helped ancient humans shape obsidian into razor-sharp blades and tools. Even fracture follows physical laws. Even breakage carries order. And perhaps there is something comforting in that. Nature does not abandon structure simply because something breaks. Broken crystals can still be beautiful, sometimes more beautiful than before. Their interiors exposed, their hidden layers finally visible. Crystals may survive for millions of years, yet they are not indestructible. They chip, crack, fracture. Ancient things can still be fragile, and perhaps human beings are similar. Longevity does not eliminate vulnerability. The Mohs scale measures hardness among minerals. Talc sits at the softest end, diamond at the hardest. Gypsum scratches easily beneath a fingernail. Quartz resists ordinary dust. Diamond resists almost everything. But hardness is not absolute strength. A hard crystal may still fracture if struck correctly. And perhaps resilience works this way too. Being emotionally strong does not mean becoming impossible to hurt. Luster describes the way crystals interact with light. Some shine like polished metal. Others glow softly like silk. Some resemble glass. Others appear oily, pearly, or earthy. A crystal's luster shapes its emotional feeling as much as its colour. Metallic minerals feel dramatic and powerful. Silky minerals feel gentle and calming. Glassy crystals feel clean and cool. And perhaps humans respond emotionally to texture and light more deeply than we realise. The nervous system constantly interprets visual surfaces. Soft reflections often calm us. Sharp reflections demand attention. Some crystals hold tiny worlds trapped inside them. These are called inclusions. Drops of ancient water, bubbles of gas. Needles of other minerals suspended forever inside transparent stone. Each inclusion becomes a time capsule. Scientists study them to understand the exact conditions under which the crystal formed millions of years ago. Ancient temperatures, ancient chemistry, ancient pressure, all preserved quietly inside tiny hidden spaces, and perhaps people carry inclusions too. Old memories, invisible grief, moments of joy suspended quietly inside us long after time has passed. Some inclusions create extraordinary beauty, golden rutile needles inside quartz, moss-like minerals inside agate, stars floating across sapphires, imperfections becoming art. Again and again, nature reminds us, beauty often emerges from complexity. Phantom crystals are especially haunting. Sometimes crystal growth pauses. Dust settles across the crystal surface. Then growth resumes later, enclosing the earlier shape inside new layers. The result becomes a ghost-like outline visible within the crystal itself, a memory preserved physically inside stone. The crystal carries evidence of its previous stages. Its earlier selves never fully disappear, and perhaps humans carry phantom layers too. Older versions of ourselves remain quietly inside us. Childhood, past grief, former hopes, not gone, simply layered beneath who we became afterward. Growth zones create color banding inside many crystals. Changes in temperature, chemistry, or pressure leave visible stripes frozen inside the mineral. Every band becomes a record of changing conditions. No crystal grows under perfectly stable circumstances forever, and perhaps no human life does either. We are shaped by changing seasons too. Stress, rest, loss, safety, love. Each phase leaves traces. Crystals can even heal themselves after cracking. Mineral-rich water seeps into fractures and deposits new crystal growth inside damaged areas. The fracture becomes sealed, sometimes visible, sometimes subtle, a scar remaining, yet the structure survives. And perhaps this feels deeply emotional, because healing in life often works similarly. The marks may remain visible, but repair is still possible. Some crystals transform completely into new minerals while preserving their original shapes. These are called pseudomorphs, quartz replacing fluorite, pyrite replacing fossils. One substance slowly becoming another atom by atom. The form remains familiar, yet the internal composition changes entirely, and perhaps identity in life can shift this way too. Outwardly recognizable, yet inwardly transformed through experience. Scientists eventually learned how to study crystal structures using X-ray diffraction. Invisible atomic arrangements revealed through patterns created by light and energy. This discovery transformed crystallography forever. For the first time, humanity could see the hidden architecture inside matter itself. And through these studies, scientists eventually uncovered structures as profound as DNA. Crystals helping reveal the foundations of life itself. Large crystals require extraordinary patience, slow cooling, slow evaporation. Stable conditions lasting immense spans of time. The greatest crystals on Earth formed because nothing interrupted their growth for thousands or millions of years. And perhaps this is another quiet lesson from geology. Beautiful things often require time without constant disruption. Patience creates scale. Stability creates clarity. Geodes feel almost symbolic because of this. Ordinary rocks on the outside, yet lined with glittering crystals within. Hidden chambers of beauty waiting silently underground for ages. Breaking open a geode feels almost magical. A reminder that appearances rarely reveal the whole story. Inside many ordinary things, there may still exist extraordinary interiors. Caves grow their own crystal architecture too. Drop by drop, calcite slowly forms stalactites and stalagmites across thousands of years. Water shaping stone patiently, one drip at a time. These cave formations are fragile precisely because they grow so slowly. A single careless touch can damage centuries of formation, and perhaps this changes how we see time itself. Nature often works gently, incrementally, quietly. Yet over long enough periods, tiny actions become monumental structures. Hot springs create colourful terraces where minerals precipitate from rising geothermal water. White calcite terraces, silica formations. Pools glowing with orange and green microorganisms thriving in heat. Alien landscapes shaped continuously by chemistry and water. Places where Earth still actively creates crystal structures before human eyes. Petrified wood may be one of the most emotional transformations in nature. Ancient trees buried beneath sediment slowly become replaced cell by cell with minerals. Wood turning into stone while preserving every ring and fibre, life becoming crystal. A forest transformed into geology. And perhaps there is something profoundly comforting about that idea. that even fragile living things can leave lasting structure behind. That memory can become permanent under the right conditions. Tonight, as your breathing softens, as your thoughts drift more slowly, now, perhaps the Earth itself feels alive in a gentler way. A planet endlessly growing crystals through heat, water, pressure, and patience. Tiny geometries forming in darkness beneath mountains and oceans. Ancient structures carrying stories written atom by atom across millions of years. And somewhere tonight, inside caves, inside magma chambers, inside silent underground waters, new crystals are still growing patiently in the dark. Slowly becoming beautiful, some fossils and crystals often become intertwined in extraordinary ways. Ancient shells may slowly transform into calcite or pyrite while preserving every tiny detail. Creatures that vanished millions of years ago remain visible because minerals quietly replace them atom by atom. Golden ammonites shimmer with pyrite. Ancient bones glow with opal. Shells become lined with quartz crystals deep inside. Life turning slowly into stone. And perhaps there is something profoundly emotional about that transformation. The temporary becoming permanent. A moment from ancient Earth surviving into the present through mineral memory. Amber preserves life differently. Long ago, sticky tree resin trapped insects, leaves, feathers, and tiny fragments of vanished forests. Over immense spans of time, the resin hardened into amber. Tiny ancient worlds suspended perfectly inside golden transparency, moments frozen beyond time. And perhaps this is why humans feel so fascinated by preserved things. We long to hold on to moments too. Crystals themselves form only when conditions become perfectly balanced. A solution must become supersaturated, holding more dissolved material than it can comfortably contain. Then slowly, atoms begin gathering together, tiny clusters forming invisibly. Some disappear immediately. Others survive and grow larger. Layer by layer, a crystal begins. And perhaps growth in life often works similarly. Small beginnings, fragile starts. Moments that almost dissolve before becoming stable enough to continue growing. Too much change too quickly can create imperfect crystals. But slow, steady growth creates clarity and order. Nature repeatedly rewards patience. Temperature and pressure shape every crystal profoundly. The same chemical elements can create completely different minerals depending on environmental conditions. Carbon becomes graphite under one set of conditions, diamond under another. Calcite forms at lower pressures, aragonite forms deeper and hotter. The structure changes because the environment changes, and perhaps human beings transform similarly. Different conditions shape different versions of the self. Safety changes us, stress changes us, rest changes us, pressure changes us. Crystals are records of the environments that formed them. Some crystals display astonishing optical effects. Star sapphires glow with floating stars beneath light. Cat's eye gemstones carry moving bands of brightness that shift as the stone turns. Labradorite flashes blue and gold like frozen northern lights. These effects emerge because of tiny internal structures hidden within the crystal. Beauty created through interaction between light and matter. And perhaps beauty in life often emerges relationally too, not fixed, not isolated, but appearing differently depending on perspective, environment, and light. Humans have also learned how to alter crystals intentionally. Radiation can darken quartz into smoky shades. Heat can transform amethyst into citron. Blue topaz is often created through careful treatment. These processes mimic changes nature itself might have created over much longer periods. And perhaps this blurs the line between natural transformation and guided transformation. Humans learning to cooperate with nature's rules rather than oppose them. Heat treatment reveals hidden colours already waiting inside the stone. Not forcing something unnatural, but uncovering dormant potential. And perhaps healing in life feels this way too. Sometimes change does not create a completely new self. It reveals qualities that were always there beneath exhaustion and fear. Crystals eventually became essential to modern technology in astonishing ways. Lasers depend on specially designed crystals that amplify light into focused beams. Ruby crystals helped create the first laser ever built. Synthetic sapphires guide precision instruments. YAG crystals shape concentrated energy used in medicine, communication, and engineering. Tiny ordered structures enabling technologies once considered impossible. And perhaps there is something poetic about that. The same geological principles that formed gemstones beneath mountains now help shape modern civilization. Liquid crystals changed human life as well. Inside screens, phones, televisions, computers, molecules align themselves in partially ordered patterns between liquid and solid states. Electric fields shift their orientation, controlling how light passes through. Every glowing screen depends on molecular order inspired by crystallography, ancient chemistry quietly supporting the modern digital world. Some crystals absorb water directly from the air. Salt clumps in humid weather because it attracts moisture. Other minerals dissolve entirely if exposed to too much humidity. These properties remind us that crystals are never truly isolated. They continuously interact with their environment, absorbing, releasing, responding, and perhaps people do too. The emotional atmosphere surrounding us changes us constantly. Stress spreads. Calm spreads too. We absorb environments quietly without always noticing. Fluorescent minerals reveal hidden colours beneath ultraviolet light. Ordinary-looking stones suddenly glow electric green, vivid orange, or deep blue. Invisible energy becoming visible light. A hidden dimension emerging only when conditions change. And perhaps humans carry hidden dimensions too. Qualities invisible during ordinary days, yet radiant under the right circumstances. The Earth itself is fundamentally crystalline. Mountains, sand, granite cliffs, river stones. All built from interlocking mineral structures repeated endlessly across the planet. Every grain of sand beneath your feet is part of this immense crystalline world. We live upon ordered atoms arranged through geological time, a planet built from invisible geometry. Throughout history, crystals inspired artists and craftspeople endlessly. Jade carvings, crystal chandeliers, marble sculptures, gem-cutting traditions passed across generations. Human creativity responding to natural beauty. Even architecture borrowed from crystalline geometry. Art Deco patterns echo crystal faces and symmetry. Lead crystal glass imitates gemstone brilliance. Humans repeatedly recreate the patterns nature discovered first. And perhaps this reveals something beautiful about creativity itself. Art often begins with observation, with wonder, with noticing hidden beauty already present in the world. Holding a crystal means touching deep time directly. Some zircon crystals are over 4 billion years old, almost as old as Earth itself. Diamonds formed before complex life existed. Quartz crystals grew while continents drifted across ancient oceans. These are not metaphors. The crystal in a human hand may genuinely predate mountains, forests, even entire ecosystems long vanished from Earth. And perhaps this perspective softens human anxiety slightly. Our lives are brief compared to geological time. The Earth has endured unimaginable transformation before us, and will continue long after. Crystals teach patience because they embody patience. The most enduring structures often form the slowest. And despite all the strict laws guiding crystal growth, no two crystals are ever identical. Tiny differences in chemistry, temperature, timing, pressure, and inclusions create individuality. Every crystal becomes unique, order and variation existing together. Perhaps this is one reason crystals feel emotionally meaningful to humans. They remind us that individuality can exist within structure. That uniqueness does not require chaos. That nature itself creates endless variation while still following quiet underlying patterns. Tonight, as your breathing becomes slower, as your thoughts drift softly towards sleep, perhaps the Earth feels older now, gentler somehow. A world endlessly shaping crystals in darkness beneath mountains, oceans, caves, deserts, and volcanoes, atom by atom, layer by layer, year after year. Silent geometries carrying memory, colour, light, and time itself. And somewhere beneath the surface tonight, new crystals are still beginning their long, patient journey toward beauty. Every crystal feels personal somehow. Even when two specimens belong to the same mineral, they never appear completely identical. One crystal may glow more softly. Another may contain delicate inclusions. A third may carry unusual colour or shape. And often, people feel drawn towards certain crystals instinctively. Not because of science or superstition necessarily, but because something about the texture, colour, or geometry resonates emotionally. Perhaps this is why crystals feel strangely intimate, despite being geological objects. They balance order and individuality at the same time. Strict mathematical structure, yet endless variation within it, and perhaps life itself follows this pattern too. Human beings share common structures, common biology, common emotions, yet every person still emerges uniquely shaped by experience. Crystals quietly remind us that rules and uniqueness can coexist. That structure does not erase individuality. When scientists first studied crystals carefully, they began discovering something profound. The universe itself contains hidden order. At first glance, nature can appear chaotic. Clouds shifting, waves crashing, mountains eroding. But beneath apparent randomness, atoms organize themselves according to consistent laws. Crystals reveal this invisible architecture beautifully. Atoms arranging themselves into repeating patterns called lattices. No external artist directing them, no conscious design. Simply matter organizing naturally according to physical laws. And perhaps this realization feels emotionally calming because it suggests the universe is not entirely chaotic after all. Patterns exist beneath complexity, order exists beneath motion. Even life itself depends on this hidden organization. Proteins fold into precise structures. DNA stores information through molecular arrangement. Cells organize themselves with astonishing accuracy. The same principles shaping crystals also shape living things. And perhaps humans feel connected to crystals, partly because we too are forms of organized matter arising from the same universe. Collecting crystals allows people to feel connected to Earth in a tangible way. A crystal is not just an object, it is a fragment of geology. A piece of planetary history small enough to hold in your hand. Collectors learn where minerals form, how volcanoes cool, how water deposits crystals inside caves and fractures. They begin seeing landscapes differently. A mountain becomes frozen geological time. A riverbed becomes a collection of ancient mineral fragments. Even a grain of sand suddenly carries meaning. And perhaps this is one of the quiet gifts of studying nature. It teaches attention. The world becomes more alive once we understand what we are looking at. Some people search for crystals in deserts, mountains, mines, and riverbeds. Others visit small rock shops filled with specimens gathered from across the world. Brazil, Madagascar, Afghanistan, Mexico, each crystal carrying the geological fingerprint of its birthplace. A personal collection slowly becomes a map of Earth itself. And perhaps collections matter emotionally because they create relationships with memory. Each specimen recalls a moment, a trip, a discovery, a feeling. Crystals become anchors for experience. Most crystals begin hidden deep underground, in darkness, in pressure, in silence. Only later do tectonic forces, erosion, volcanic eruptions, or human discovery bring them into light. A crystal's journey from formation to human hands may span millions of years. Imagine that for a moment. The stone resting quietly beside someone's bed tonight may have begun forming before mammals even existed. And somehow, after surviving heat, pressure, geological upheaval, erosion, and time, it arrived gently into human hands. Perhaps this is why crystals feel almost like gifts from the Earth itself. Messages carried upward from hidden places humans can never fully reach. Crystals also connect the macroscopic and macroscopic worlds beautifully. The invisible determines the visible. Tiny atomic arrangements decide colour, hardness, transparency, brilliance, and shape. The angle between crystal faces reflects invisible bond angles between atoms. Microscopic rules creating macroscopic beauty, and perhaps this principle extends beyond geology. Invisible things shape visible life constantly. Thoughts shape behaviour, memories shape emotion. Environment shapes identity. The small quietly creates the large. Throughout history, many cultures assign spiritual meaning to crystals. Rose quartz symbolised love, amethyst symbolised calm, turquoise symbolised protection. Modern science does not support claims that crystals emit measurable healing energies. Yet the emotional effect people experience around crystals can still feel very real. Perhaps because humans naturally attach meaning to beautiful objects, we create rituals around things that help us feel calm, hopeful, or connected. A smooth stone held during meditation, a crystal placed beside a bed, a meaningful object carried in a pocket. These practices may work less through physics and more through attention and emotion, and perhaps that matters too. Sometimes the human nervous system heals partly through symbolism, through comfort, through focused intention. Even if the mechanism is psychological rather than mystical, crystallography eventually transformed science itself. Studying crystal structures helped scientists understand proteins, DNA, medicines, metals, and semiconductors. Entire technologies emerged from understanding atomic arrangement. Computers, medical imaging, modern pharmaceuticals, fiber optics. Crystals, once admired purely for beauty, became tools for understanding matter itself. And perhaps there is something inspiring about that. Curiosity about natural beauty leading humanity toward profound discoveries. Even meteorites carry crystals formed beyond Earth, tiny minerals created inside asteroids, or even inside ancient stars before the solar system existed. Some microscopic grains found in meteorites are literally older than the sun. Stardust preserved inside stone. Imagine that. Holding a crystal that formed before Earth itself existed. A fragment of cosmic history delivered across unimaginable distances. And perhaps this perspective softens the mind gently. Human worries begin feeling smaller against cosmic time. The universe has always been shaping matter slowly across billions of years. Rare crystals remind us how many hidden possibilities still exist inside nature. Some minerals are found only in one small location on Earth. Others exist in only a handful of known specimens. Extreme combinations of chemistry, pressure, temperature, and timing, creating something almost impossible. And yet even common crystals remain extraordinary when viewed closely. Quartz, salt, calcite. Ordinary minerals carrying astonishing internal order. Perhaps rarity alone does not define beauty. Common things can still be deeply meaningful. A smooth stone from a river, a shell from a beach. Rain against a window at night. The nervous system often finds comfort in ordinary natural things repeated gently. Tonight, as your thoughts become quieter, perhaps the Earth feels older now, vaster, more patient. A world endlessly arranging atoms into colour, light and structure beneath mountains and oceans. Crystals growing silently through darkness and pressure while human lives pass briefly above them. And somewhere tonight, deep underground, new crystals are beginning their journey. Tiny lattices forming atom by atom in hidden chambers beneath the Earth, quiet reminders that beauty often grows slowly and invisibly, long before anyone finally sees it. Even on a planet billions of years old, surprises still remain hidden beneath the surface. Some crystals grow so large they almost feel impossible. A single beryl crystal discovered in Madagascar weighed over 18 tons. Selenite crystals inside caves in Mexico stretch longer than trees. Quartz crystals weighing several tons have been uncovered in Brazil. These giant formations grew slowly by atom across immense spans of uninterrupted time. And perhaps this is what makes them feel almost sacred, not because they are mystical, but because they embody patience beyond human imagination. A crystal towering 30 feet high was not rushed into existence. It formed in silence, in darkness, in steady conditions lasting thousands or millions of years. Nature building cathedrals without architects. And perhaps there is comfort in remembering that extraordinary things can emerge slowly through tiny repeated actions. One atom at a time, one layer at a time. Even the largest structures begin invisibly. Yet beauty does not belong only to enormous crystals. Under microscopes, tiny crystals reveal astonishing worlds. Snowflakes become delicate geometric forests. Microscopic minerals form perfect cubes and pyramids invisible to the naked eye. Entire universes of structure exist beneath ordinary vision. And perhaps this changes how we see scale itself. Greatness is not always large. Sometimes the smallest things carry the most intricate beauty. Thin slices of rock viewed under polarized light explode into vivid colors and shifting patterns. Geologists studying minerals through microscopes often describe the experience as almost artistic. Abstract landscapes created by crystal structure and light. Again and again, nature reveals that beauty exists at every scale. Crystals also exist inside living organisms: shells, bones, teeth, corals. Life itself builds crystals. This process is called biomineralization. Sea creatures create layers of calcium carbonate to form shells and reefs. Human bones and teeth depend on crystalline minerals for strength. Even plants sometimes grow tiny crystals inside their tissues. The boundary between living and non-living becomes less clear than we often imagine. Life does not stand apart from geology, it works with it. Organisms shaping minerals, minerals supporting life. And perhaps this interconnectedness feels quietly meaningful. Human beings are not separate from Earth. We are expressions of the same chemistry. The same atoms cycling endlessly through oceans, mountains, plants, animals, and stone. Yet crystals are never permanent. Eventually, rain falls, wind blows, rivers carry sediment away. Mountains erode grain by grain, crystals weather and break apart. Quartz becomes sand. Feldspar becomes clay. Calcite dissolves slowly into water. The rock cycle continues endlessly. Minerals melt, reform, transform, and crystallize again. atoms recycled through Earth's systems across unimaginable spans of time. And perhaps there is something strangely peaceful about this. Nothing remains fixed forever. Even mountains change. Even crystals eventually return to dust, yet matter itself continues, rearranging endlessly into new forms. The study of crystals became an entire scientific field called crystallography. Scientists use X-rays and electron microscopes to study atomic structure itself. Crystallography helped humanity understand metals, semiconductors, medicines, proteins, and DNA. Entire technologies emerged because humans learned how atoms organize inside crystals. Modern life quietly depends on discoveries born from studying minerals. And perhaps this reveals something beautiful about curiosity. A person examining a crystal simply out of wonder may unknowingly begin discoveries that change civilization. Crystals also teach patience in a deeper emotional sense. They do not hurry. They wait underground for millions of years without urgency. Understanding them also requires patience, learning hardness, cleavage, luster, formation environments. No shortcut replaces observation and time. And perhaps this is part of their emotional power in the modern world. Everything today feels fast. Notifications, screens, deadlines, noise, crystals exist outside that rhythm. They belong to geological time. Holding one almost slows the nervous system naturally. A reminder that not everything meaningful happens quickly. Some things require waiting. Some beauty emerges only through gradual accumulation. And perhaps healing works similarly. Slowly, quietly, without dramatic moments. Tiny changes adding up over time until something stable forms inside us again. In many ways, crystals are Earth's artwork. No artist designed them consciously. No audience was expected. Yet the results are breathtaking. The symmetry of quartz, the glowing purple of amethyst, the layered bands inside agate, the fire inside opal. Chemistry and time creating beauty naturally. And perhaps this suggests something profound. Beauty may not be accidental. Certain forms, certain balances, certain symmetries seem to resonate deeply with human perception itself. We recognize harmony instinctively. Crystals embody balance between complexity and order. Perhaps that is why they calm us. Tonight, as your thoughts drift more softly now, imagine yourself inside a quiet crystal cave deep underground, walls glowing softly with amethyst. Clear quartz catching faint light like frozen water, silence surrounding everything. No rush, no pressure, no noise from the outside world, only stillness, the slow patience of Earth itself. Crystals growing invisibly in darkness while time passes gently overhead. They remind us that beauty can exist quietly, that order can emerge naturally, that even hidden things may eventually come into light. And somewhere tonight, beneath mountains, beneath oceans, inside silent chambers of stone, new crystals are still forming. Tiny atoms arranging themselves patiently into structures of extraordinary beauty. The Earth continuing its quiet art long after human voices fade into sleep. So let your breathing soften now. Let your thoughts settle gently